That's it. There you go. Now we're
Mister,
live.
how are you, my friend?
Mr. Wallace. Mr. Wallace, how
This
are
has be,
you this morning?
this has become a bit of a Saturday night tradition. We've done this for a couple Saturdays now.
Yeah, that's been nice. It's Sunday morning here, the 25th in the Philippines. And yeah, no, life is good. I've got probably less than 48 hours before I'm on a plane heading your way.
Yeah, you're a short timer. You will be here in 36 hours.
I know. I'm I'm here in Manila, and you know, doing live. I was doing some research. Less than like 2 or 3% of all podcasts are live. I was asking AI. I'm like,
Wait,
what? I
seriously?
mean, what's the yeah? What's the pros and cons of going live versus doing everything in post production? And they were like, certainly the level of difficulty in going live is way higher, right? So obviously you got to feel comfortable in front of a camera and talking and stuff. But I think it's nice because I don't have to deal with post. I mean, there's no editing. It's just we just go, just like send it out into the universe forever.
Well, since I
So
don't know how to do post production, that's that's a feature.
I mean, but we talk live every day. So
Yeah.
I mean, we used to email or send voicemails, but that was so 90s. you got your you got your libations there,
I do. I have a little glass of a little bourbon.
a little bourbon and
Nothing.
ginger, a little B&G.
Yeah, I've got straight bourbon. That's kind of
Oh,
my
straight bourbon.
drink of choice. Just a little Maker's Mark, nothing fancy.
I'm drinking. Oh, Maker's Mark is nice. Well, I
Yeah.
would never turn down a Maker's Mark.
Nope. I
It's
never
nice.
have. Never will.
I've got my India cup, my Elephant India copper water cup. You ever studied about copper water?
I have not.
Search copper. I got this in India. It's like this handmade, hand carved. I mean, elephant mug. I was on my way out of the airport, and I see these like copper cups, and of course, I love elephants. My daughter loves elephants. I love elephants, and so I pass it, and I'm telling my friend and say, "Hey, they got these copper cups here." He goes, "Oh yeah, no, that's a water cup. You're supposed to drink your water out of copper." And I'm like, what are you talking about? So of course I search, you know, whenever I don't know something, and sure enough, all these things about how you're supposed to drink water out of a pure copper cup. It's supposed to have some great medicinal values to it. And every time I think of a copper cup, I think of like Moscow Mule. So I had I had no idea it was actually for water.
Water in a copper cup. That seems wrong. But oh, you do you.
Yeah, if you you do you. Hey, don't shoot the messenger. I'm just telling you, there are scientists out there swearing up and down that you need to drink your water out of a copper cup, and it's supposed to have all sorts of medicinal qualities to it. Who would have thought?
Well, it's certainly not me. This is news to me. I learn something
Now,
every day.
I think, I think a ginger beer, lime, and and rum in a copper cup has medicinal properties to it. But that's a different
That has
that's a
medicinal
that's a
properties no matter what it's in.
that that's, that you actually told me the physics behind, because you're a physicist. You actually told me the physics behind a copper cup one time, and I'm like, oh, everything is copper cups make everything really cold, and you were like,
Oh, let me tell you something about that. So,
what?
the copper is a copper is an extremely good conductor of heat, and is a very good conductor of electricity, and for approximately the same reasons. A little foreshadowing there for a future physics lesson. Our perception of why something is cold, like if I touch this glass and it's cold, it has less to do with the temperature of the object and how fast it can transmit heat to your hand, what you're touching it with. Copper has a very high heat conductivity. So if you touch a copper cup that has ice water in it at 32 degrees, when you touch it with your finger, it's able to absorb a lot of heat out of your finger. And that's what we call cold. It's not cold.
Oh, because it's the variance. It's the contrast of temperatures.
It's transferring heat from your finger to the cup very quickly, so the nerve endings in your finger perceive that as cold. If I touch something that doesn't conduct heat very well, like plastic object at 32 degrees, if I touch that, it will not feel nearly as cold. You say, oh, the copper is much colder than the plastic, and it's not. They're exactly the same temperature, but one conducts heat away from your fingertip, which is where your nerve endings are, so it makes your fingertip colder faster, and you perceive it as being more cold. Same temperature, but one feels colder than the other. And there we had a little physics lesson.
Wow.
I wasn't expecting that. That wasn't in our script.
It's like shooting right from the hip. Now you taught in actually university. I mean, you're not just an armchair PhD in physics. You are the real McCoy, the real deal.
Well, I've taught at the University of Maine and the University of Washington, and Washington State University, and I had a brief stint at the University of North Dakota at Fargo, but we don't want to talk about that.
That's where you don't want to bring a copper cup. Otherwise, you're gonna get this like the scene where the kid's like tongue is stuck to the flagpole.
Oh my God!
What movie was that?
The Christmas Story, I believe.
Christmas Story. You remember? I used to be a Joe Popsicle guy. I don't know if you knew this. I used to drive a Joe Popsicle truck. Now we're getting into random stories. I was a Joe Popsicle. I drove for one summer. Driving around the little Jeep, the Joe Popsicle. I was right out of high school, Joe Popsicle, driving around in the popsicle truck, right? And so,
what haven't you done?
That Joe guy, man, he made tons of money. He was like a slave driver. We would rent these Jeeps, and he would sell the ice cream, he would sell the dry ice, and then we would have our routes, But I digress. We would put fresh dry ice inside of the back of those things and inside of our coolers, and then we would pack our popsicles and everything else around it. We had to buy our own inventory and everything else like that. Every once in a while, you get this thing where the popsicle is like laying right on the dry ice, and you see the kid all excited, and he rips off the paper and then the tongue kind of like starts stretching out. You're like, I'm like, be careful, kids, that's cold. But they never heed the warning, and next thing you know, they've got the frozen tongue on the popsicle. There you go.
So you are going to be coming here in 36 hours, and for this company relaunch, where you're playing all of the things you've done for the company. Could you give like just not a full, an in-depth analysis of what you've done, just kind of hit the high points of what we're going to be talking about in the next couple of weeks while you're here.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I started a new company. I'm an entrepreneur, and so the company is the EOL. If you found EOL, I had the domain EOL.com or EOL.ph from my El Omolofo. So I sit there and ask chat. So give me some names of companies that have the acronym EOL. And we came up with Expert AI and Optimization Lab. And at first, I was like, okay. And then it grew on me. So EOL, which is Expert AI and Optimization Lab, I've been studying AI for about a year and a half now and started into some heavy development projects. And so I'm like, you know what? Marketing is, I love marketing. And I'm like, we can do some amazing stuff. And I've always loved your products. I mean, for forever. I mean, I was kind of like right around the inception of some of them, actually.
You're there
And
from the beginning, my brother.
yeah. I know where the Perlini came from and the Perlage and everything else. And so obviously I want to help you out as much as I can. So I didn't know that you were really pushing into the business to consumer space, but that is right up my alley. And so I'm like, okay, let's do some marketing. And you had just launched your site, perlagesystems.com. And I'm like, well, we need some marketing behind this. And I've been doing Facebook marketing for the last year and a half. So building followers and doing everything from podcasts to live this to reaction videos and everything. So I was getting fairly comfortable with being in front of the camera. And just as you and I are working right now, if you take a look at our first video, which is like 3 videos ago, versus the video that we have right now, it's just world apart. It's just night and day difference, I would say, in as far as quality. And it's just going to get better, And so I said, okay, well, we need to create content. B, we need to create a landing page, a marketing landing page for you. And so that's what we did. I have some fantastic developers. I've got a great designer. And I said, hey, we need to relaunch this and put together proper landing pages. Landing pages used to be a marketing term. It started around the SEO days, search engine optimization days, where they would actually call that the page that people landed on when they had some sort of a call to action or some sort of thing that they were selling or marketing. And that's just what we did. We built some very strong marketing pages for both your Perlini and your Perlage products, adding all of the information in there, from product information, descriptions, price, frequently asked questions, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm excited about doing a proper launch with your 2 products. And we've got an unprecedented discount going on right now of 50% off, which is unheard of. I mean, that's like Black Friday sale type thing,
And we've never discounted our products before, but the point of this was we want to do a stress test of the system. And the amount of the discount I really don't so much care about. What I care about is driving traffic, so we can kind of test out, see how well things hold up under traffic, which is really interesting to me.
Yeah, that reminds me of a story when we started hitting this is at El Omolufo, where we started getting influencers would come to our resort, and some of these influencers had over like 100,000 people to our resort, and they would come in, and then they would promote us, and in one day we got like 300 calls for people wanting to make a booking. And in the Philippines, you've got Agoda, you've got Booking.com, but really you don't have, places like a camping resort doesn't have their own website or booking engine, let alone anything AI oriented. So we had our chatbot in place, and had we not had our chatbot in place, we would. There's no way. We were inundated by requests, And through all of our automation systems, we ended up capturing all of that traffic. It was just like a huge hockey stick. Like, overnight we had hundreds of people literally calling us and messaging us online. And had I not put those systems in place, we would have lost it. So your capacity to serve really depends on how much you can take in. We kind of learned that from the news days. The news days was like, if you can accept all the traffic coming in, then they're going to come back. But if they hit your site and they're trying to buy something and they can't do it, or the system breaks, or this or that, then they're not going to go. They're going to keep shopping. It's going to be way, way, way more difficult. So incorporating AI into Prolage systems, putting your chatbots in place, putting your automation systems in place, your fulfillment systems in place, and tying that all together, and then doing a big promotion. I mean, you have to have that infrastructure in place. You cannot just sit there on the phone, sitting there trying to, like, okay, yeah, what's your address? And back in the days, you're like, okay, what's your address? We'll send this. Can you imagine? Can you even imagine that now? Can you even imagine having operators standing by, ready to take your order? Back in the QVC days, at infomercials at 2 a.m., where they had a whole bank full of like operators sitting there taking orders and stuff like that. That's how they used to do it. Now you have your app.
I remember ordering my KTEL Top 40 LP album, which most of this audience won't even remember. Remember KTEL? And you on the television, you dial the number, allow 6 to 8 weeks for delivery.
Yeah, for sure. I can't even imagine people standing by to take your order, and like some sort of. I mean, now with your Shopify in place, you just kind of like hear this ding, and the product's in stock. Everything is there. Off it goes to fulfillment. We got the analytics involved. We know where they came from, how they searched, how long they've stayed on the page, and that's kind of actually one of our first key KPIs. Is that we know that when they landed on your page.
Well, you said an acronym. You said KPI.
KPI.
What does that mean?
It's a key indicator. It's basically the things that your key performance indicator. So we knew that people were coming to the site because we had great traffic. We had great ads. We were running ads for a month. We're doing all sorts of different things. And you and I were doing A/B testing on ads and stuff like that. And it was hitting the page, but there wasn't the conversion side of it. And so, and that's when we really began working together and saying, okay, how do we get our conversion rates up? And a conversion rate obviously is when someone comes to your site, it translates into an actual sale. How many times do they come to your site? How long did they spend it? Did they add something to the shopping cart? Did they leave? Did they come back? All those kind of analytics are all captured within, like say Google these days. I mean, before it was just unique users, but now we could really analyze the type of traffic. And of course, the holy grail is that if through Google Analytics and a bunch of other sort of metrics, if I could tell you as a business owner, for every $10 that you spend in advertising, you make $100 or you make $50, right? That's what you need. And most places, I mean, when I say most, I mean like 70, 80% of everyone who does media management just does this whole like guessing game. But the high end guys, like the stuff that we're developing, we can actually tell you, this is your market, this is how much you need to spend, and this is how much you're going to make. And that's really where we're aiming in this new launch. And so the landing pages are critical to getting that actual numbers and actual implementation and everything else. So once you've got a great infrastructure and a good template to work with, a good marketing template, I mean, you'll see these guys on YouTube making literally millions of dollars. I've had some clients call me up. One of them was NFL helmets. They got some Bluetooth NFL helmet. I don't know if I told you this story.
I don't think so.
No, some guy, some company, some guy found on some Asian website, no doubt, a helmet, a football helmet that had a Bluetooth speaker built into it. Right? Really
Okay.
high quality helmet. And he ended up getting the licensing from the NFL to actually put these stickers on a helmet. Okay. And so now you had your favorite team. It was a real helmet and
Oh,
it
get
had
the
a
heck.
Bluetooth speaker in it. And you put it on you're doing your tailgating and stuff like that. And you put your helmet on there and you connect the game to it. And now you've got the game streaming out of the helmet, or you got your music playing out of the helmet, right? So so this guy, he does the marketing campaign and he is literally making millions of dollars.
Good heavens.
But he cannot figure out his inventory is a mess. He doesn't know how many he's got in stock. There's just there's helmets going out left and right. His back end logistics are a mess. I mean, he's got customers calling up saying, "Oh, you sent me 2 helmets or 3 helmets. What do I do?" And the guy's like, "Oh, just keep them." I mean, the guy was making like literally tens of thousands of dollars a day. He didn't care. He really didn't care. He was just rolling so much in money that but he was just like, I know I need to figure it out, but I just don't want to run out of inventory. That was his biggest concern. I need an inventory system. So his logistics were an absolute mess. This was many years ago. And so he's calling me up and saying, "Help, I need an inventory system." But that's the real the thing is your ability to scale is all the stuff that you've worked through for the
Oh,
last
I can
15
scale.
plus
I've
years.
I've been I've been doing this for almost 20 years, and I'm very confident in my supply chain. So that's like the least of my worries. I
Yeah,
I
you should do.
understand. I understand. We ship to 150 countries, and
Yeah.
we touched on this in a previous chat that the single greatest asset an entrepreneur has is ignorance. We figured out how to ship internationally um, uh, in 2010, and I picked up the Seattle Times one day back when I used to buy physical newspapers, and in 2000, I think it was 2016, and I opened the paper. It says Nordstrom. And what do you think of when you think of Nordstrom? Customer
No,
service,
yeah,
the
no,
greatest,
huge. Yeah, exactly. Yep.
one of the greatest customer service oriented companies ever in history, in the history of commerce. And like in 2018, Nordstrom has just started shipping internationally. I'm going, we've been doing that for 6 years, 7 years, because we didn't know how hard it was. It was so hard that Nordstrom didn't even
Nobody.
do it
Yeah.
until the late 2000 teens. So anyway, I'm a big proponent of ignorance. That's that's my takeaway here.
Ignorance is bliss. Yeah, I mean, if you don't, if nobody tells you that, hey, you're not big enough, or you're not doing this, and you're not doing that. If you don't know any better, I mean, you're just gonna go for it for sure.
As a small entrepreneur, the less you know about how hard it is, the better. Because if you knew how hard it was, you'd get a job.
there's, there's some
You'd go out
there
and
is
get a
some
job
truth in that. You know,
because
I
look at me. I mean, look at me. I used to be a 6'4" black man with dreadlocks, and now I'm a shriveled up old white guy. That's what
You took the. I think you stole that
that's what
from
being an
Steve Martin.
entrepreneur will do to you. Might have. Now look at
Yeah.
me.
So now look at you. Well, you're looking great. And I've
I
got you.
feel
I
good.
mean,
I feel good.
how long have I been talking about getting you on a podcast? Over two
Oh, we've been talking
years.
about this for years. Yeah.
For years.
I'm a little camera shy. And you know,
But you're not
my
bourbon
father,
shy, so I think there's a
I'm not,
combination between the bourbon shy and
my
camera shy.
father, my father was an avid amateur radio operator. I mean, that was like his passion. He had there was a whole room in our house devoted to his ham radio. We had a tower, the 40-foot tower in the back of our house with a rotating
I'm
antenna on
jealous.
top.
Yes. Yeah.
And oh my God, he had a Radio Shack. That's where the term Radio Shack comes from.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Chewing the rag.
as a and as a 6 or 7 year old boy, he would always try to put me on and said, "Talk to my." He'd be on some conversation with his the people he talked to around the world. He said, "Go talk." I'm a 6 year old boy. I'm talking like 50-year-old men, and I got mic fright. It's a well
Oh.
known condition where you freeze up around a microphone.
Okay.
So I'm always talking on a microphone from being
Well,
from being encouraged to talk on a microphone like to people I didn't know. It's kind of intimidating.
Well, you've got what's your call? I know what your call sign is. Well, what is it? Just so we got some ham operators out there. You've got a great call sign.
Wes encouraged me to get my amateur radio license, and my call sign is Whiskey, 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 Tango, 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 WWWTTT. I can't believe somebody
You
did
forget
that.
the seven, the whiskey, whiskey, whiskey 7.
That's
Tango,
right.
tango, tango.
Yep.
I don't have anything quite as interesting. I'm KG7PIX in the ham operating world of amateur radio. But well, you don't have Mike Fright now, but we've been talking. This is
I'm doing better.
we've been talking every day for hours a day. So I think this is kind of maybe a cleaned up version of what maybe we kind of talk about a lot.
Well, I think most.
I mean,
of our
we talk. Yeah, I mean, it was,
Most-
we don't have locker room talk so much. So, but I mean,
Yeah.
as far as like we talk a lot about business. Obviously, lately we've been talking nothing about everything about business and travel. Of me coming over there, the things that we want to get taken care of, and then you coming over here in October. We've got. I want to basically start selling the Perlini and their Perlage systems here in the Philippines and using this as a distribution hub to Asia. Asia's a huge market. I mean, I see some of the posts and cocktails are really popular here in the Makati area. There's some really good bar scenes here, and none of them have seen your product. I think maybe a couple of people have seen your product, but yeah, no, this is. Oh, I was in Costco. I sent you a video. Did you see the video?
Yeah, I watch it. I think the two biggest trends in the cocktail world right now are in this country is mocktails, is alcohol-free cocktails, and because a lot this the 20 to 30-year-old generation, they've hit it pretty hard, and they're starting to think about their health, their long-term health, and they're cutting back on their drinking. But in a bar setting, charging $14 for a cocktail that has no alcohol in it is a bit of a stretch, and they have to
Okay.
and they have to charge $14 because they have rent to pay, they have a lease to pay, and they've got employees to pay. So the Perlini fits perfectly in that, in adding, like, it's a value add, the carbonation, the show of making a carbonated cocktail, and the fog that comes out of the shaker when you open the cap. It's a bit of theater, and that bit of theater helps
Oh,
to
very nice.
justify that price. Helps to justify that price point of a $14 cocktail for something that has no alcohol in it. And the other big trend I see is the rise of cocktail culture in Asia. We saw that happen and we were there when it happened in the late 2000s, 2008, 2009, 2010, and even earlier than that when Murray Stinson was holding court at Il Bistro and introducing
Mm.
people, reintroducing people to classic cocktails. And then a couple great cocktail bars sprung up around the country, Zigzag in Seattle, uh, Pagu Club in New York, and a couple others. Uh, and that's when this resurgence of the appreciation of classic cocktails happened. And so now we're a solid 10 years into that trend, 15 years into that trend in the US, but it's really just
Mm-hmm.
starting to hit the Asian market. So I think
Yeah.
is those two trends together, um, mocktails and the advance of the cocktail culture into the Asian markets is a perfect confluence of events for Perlini.
Well, this is definitely a city. This is a city phenomenon because if you get into the province,
No, you're
you know,
absolutely right. Absolutely right.
I would say this, and obviously I've been in the Philippines. I've lived here for almost 8 years now, and when we think about high end drinks, we think about Starbucks,
Right.
right? So if you're going to go in and Starbucks here, which is interesting, they don't pay $15 an hour minimum wages. They would be lucky. I don't even know if they even pay $15 a day. Then alone, maybe their fully burdened cost is $15 a day, but on average, a barista is making $10 a day, $10 a day, and the coffee comes from here. So when you're going in and you're paying 100, let's just say double tall latte is 150 pesos, 160 pesos, which translates into, let's just to say round numbers. Let's just say that's a $3 latte. So the Philippines is one of the few areas where Starbucks the latte is actually less than I'd say other parts of the world. And there are some metrics, like that when they do cost metrics, they often take a look at the cost of a Big Mac, and they compare the economies by how much McDonald's charges for the Big Mac. I don't know if you ever seen those
Yep.
things, right? So I would add to that, obviously, the Starbucks, is charging $3 for a coffee. Well, if a daily wage is, let's just say, $10, and a cup of coffee is costing you $3, would you work a third of your day for a cup of coffee? I mean, that's kind of crazy, right? But that is an expensive drink. Now there are cocktail bars opening up in Manila where I'm seeing the drinks are up to, 400 pesos, 500, 600 pesos. So you're getting up into that, the price range, I mean, comparatively way more expensive than the cocktails in Seattle. And cocktails in Seattle, I mean, what's a Manhattan cost in like El Bistro or something like that?
Average cost 18 to 20 bucks.
$18 to $20. Yeah. And so $18 to $20, but the minimum wage
20,
in
26, $28 at El Gaucho in Seattle.
yeah, but if you were living in Seattle, I mean, you have to make at least 80,000 a year, which is about 4 million a year. And if you're not making that much money in Seattle, I mean, you're living paycheck to paycheck.
Yep.
So cost wise, I mean, cocktails, yes, are expensive in Seattle in the city, but they're really trending here in the Philippines. This my point is that while there is a price difference, is the trending in here is bars are opening up all over the place because they realize that someone will spend like say 150 to 200 pesos, like say $3 for an entire 750 milliliter bottle of rum, right? And so, or $2 to $4. This is say $2 to $4 for a bottle of alcohol that typically is shared among a group of people. Uh, and you're kind of going from that to a city, which now cocktails are, I mean, every cocktail bar here I've walked into is just packed.
Really?
So yeah, I mean, Manila is one of the most. Um, I mean, this area right here is equivalent to like say Bellevue, East Side, Manhattan, San Francisco. I mean, we're in the financial area here in Makati, and so the bar scene around here. I mean, people make money. So there is a lot of money in the Philippines. Yeah, there's a lot of poverty in the Philippines, but you have extremely rich people and you have extremely poor people. And so the bars that are starting to cater to those that have money are just exploding right now. So I think the industry.
We might be having some technical difficulties. I can't hear Wes right now. My apologies to our audience. Let's see if we can find out what happened. We may have lost our internet connection, so I'm going to end this broadcast. Thank you all very much. We're going to reconvene when Wesley arrives in Seattle next week. Thank you all very much, and good night.
There you go. Now I'm in here. I know he'll come back in here. Let me do this. I will open this up for some questions. If you've got any questions, uh, hit me with some questions and I will answer them. But let me see if I can get this thing to show. There we go. Ask away. I think Evan is, maybe, did he send me a message? I don't know. So Monday on the 26th, I fly out to Seattle, and then I catch my day back because I'm one day ahead. So actually, I leave on the 26th, arrive on the 26th. If you haven't been to the Philippines, Philippines is a great place. Takes one day of travel anywhere in the U.S. to get to the Philippines. And travel season is coming up. Certainly, holidays is a great place to spend time in the Philippines. And my wife and I also have a resort here called El Umalufo. You can find that on Facebook or just search ELOMALUFO. And we have a 5-star resort located in the jungle of the Philippines in southern Mindanao, in the General Santos area, which is pretty much the southernmost island in the Philippines. But what happened? Oh, you know what? I'm wonder actually what happened to Evan. But in any case, if he doesn't come back on, I will say farewell. But let me see if he is on the line. This is where live. You're like, oh, this is where I say it's difficult. Oh, he's typing to me. Video. He's like, okay. But if he hops back on here in just a second, I will let him join back in to say goodbye. And all right, well, I will say goodbye for Evan. This is Wesley Kronick, Evan Washington, Evan in Washington. I'm in the Philippines. Thanks for tuning in, and be sure to like and follow us either on YouTube or Facebook. We're talking about business. We're talking about AI, the cocktail space. Between Evan and I, we've got 50 years of business experience, and sharing just different stories and different tales. So thanks again for tuning in. Until next time, have a great day.